Good morning, everybody. It's still morning. It's the 22nd of May, 2023. And I did a video yesterday, but somehow with my great brilliance, I somehow deleted it accidentally. Very good video it was, too. So I'm, for a large part, just repeating it today. And of course the big news was that, and still is, the defeat of Bakhmut. Now, Artemovsk for Russia. So now I guess you can officially give it the Russian name rather than the Ukrainian name. But yeah, Prigozhin announced that, and if you remember, he was actually going to throw in the towel and try to hand the last parts of the battle over to the Chechens, but apparently he was ordered to stay. So even though it's a private military organization, he still falls under the command of Russia, apparently. So, but anyway, now that's old news, I suppose. But that news, anyway, that is actually very big news, but it's not old. It's not going to be old. The repercussions are going to be lasting for quite some time, because a lot of people are saying that is one of the biggest battles, long ongoing battles since World War II, very much, I guess, rivaling the Battle of Stalingrad. A lot of deaths, but of course the deaths in Stalingrad, where a lot of Russians died, but they still won. And I believe in this case most of the deaths were the Ukrainians, and they didn't win. And some news is saying that they still hold a small part there, and kind of resisting, but I don't know. It's apparent that Prigozhin has always been pretty accurate when he doesn't announce things before they happen. I think some people accuse Kadyrov of doing that. Right before something is going to fall, he says it's already fallen, but a little bit prematurely. But I guess Prigozhin does not have that reputation, so when he says it's fallen, and that's all that is. So I was going to go sit on a bench. Somebody grabbed it. Oh, none of these pigeons here. You see? Yes, but anyway, that's one thing that is similar is that as far as this fight is concerned, it parallels within the fact that it was against this terrible ideology, the nasties. Sometimes, I'm a little afraid to say what it's called, because you never know. Because some of the people that own these platforms or regulate these platforms or influence these platforms, they back this ideology. Even though they don't call it that ideology, but they certainly do back it. They back it in every other way. They support these people. And of course you have these nasty regimes, and then you got the nasty sympathizers, but some of these people, I don't know, what is Germany? Germany used to be the nasties, but now I guess they're just nasty sympathizers. But then you look at the Poland and the Baltic states, and again, I'm not talking about the people, I'm talking about the governments there. They certainly honor that ideology. They are very much a part of that ideology, and they worship that. They embrace it in everything but name. So there are peoples that they wish to eliminate from the face of the earth. You've heard that from the leader of Estonia. You've heard it from a lot of these leaders. And of course you hear that from a lot of the top people in Ukraine. It depends on who they're speaking to. If you go to Zelensky, old Vladimir, when he's going around the world, he says that his regime and his people are just full of love. They're just full of love. They want to spread the love around. They want to spread the love around. And those evil, evil, evil Ruskies, they're the ones that are that are the bad guys. And of course, that's projection. You know, that's one of, I think they say there are 4 different types of projection, and of course that is one of them, and that's the one that most people always refer to when you're talking about, you know, this sort of propaganda and all that. Some old guy looking at me, it doesn't bother me, over there. Something he can tell his wife or grandkids about or whatever. I tell you what, I got to find some old guy like that who maybe isn't working and start learning Russian that way. Somebody who has a lot of time. I should go speak to him, but I got this camera here. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Projection, projection, people, projection. Yes. But anyway, the fall of the Bakhmut, I guess another thing that it signifies is the combined might of the nasties and the nasty sympathizers. Whole lot of countries, they stood behind this, they supported this, they gave weapons, they gave money, and they still didn't win against one company, the Wagner company. Of course, they didn't do it alone. They needed weapons and ammunition, and they got that, of course, from Russia. But essentially, if you look at Ukraine, it's the same thing. They got weapons, you know, and just threw those bodies there. People untrained just grabbed them. Mostly in the last months, these were Russian sympathizing people. They brought them from Odessa. Heavy part of the population there is pro-Russian. And of course they wanted to end that and make it more pro-Ukraine, so they rounded up all of the able-bodied men and they shipped them off there. The Transcarpathians, the ones that are sympathetic to Hungary. And Hungary is seen as an enemy, of course, by these people. Anybody that doesn't send them weapons and money to this regime are, of course, you know, the enemy. Yeah, but the same thing. Let me think. I was talking. Let me look on my notes here. I got something. Oh, it was the same time. You know, they're talking about Poland. Poland was talking about how upset they are, I suppose is a good word, how upset they are with the government of Ukraine that they don't apologize for some of the massacres in World War II from the Banderites. And as you know, Zelensky, he's making his world tour for the past weeks, going all over begging for money, you know, begging for weapons, begging for sympathy, playing Uriah Heep. Remember? Anyway. But the ones in charge, I guess it was maybe the ambassador or something like that. Anyway, the ones that are in charge with relations with Poland, basically they flipped the middle finger at Poland, said, we're not going to apologize. You know, so for the massacre of these Polish citizens. And of course I like to always add, and one time I'm going to be going to maybe at least, I've already been to one place, the Forest Guide near Baranovichi, where it was a massacre, and those were the Banderites that massacred Czech civilians. They brought them there by train from Czech Republic. Czechoslovakia was the country at the time, and it's right by the train tracks, and there's a memorial there, and I did a video quite a while ago about that, and I'm not sure how many bodies they had found there, but they line them up and just shoot them. And these Banderites from Ukraine, they were the ones in charge of the Brest Oblast, which includes Baranovichi. So, and if they list nasties, then I guess you know who the nasties were that did that. And of course, some of the Baltic states, they were also on the side of old Adolf there. You know, it's very strange that they're like that today. You see the same countries now, a lot of them, going the same way. But in the beginning, as you know, Stalin was kind of an admirer of Adolf, and but so was the Polish government. They don't want to admit that. They conveniently only mention that Stalin was, or they say that the Russians were always allies. And of course that does not mean allies. They were sympathetic, and of course I don't think the Soviets at that time, you know, Stalin of course is from Georgia, which now hates, you know, the government hates Russia. it's very strange how all these relationships, they switch, and some of them don't switch. That's the point I was getting at. The Baltic states and Ukraine, they're still anti-Russian, and the Poles have never been able to decide. And of course, most of their independence is thanks to Russia, very much like the Finland. But Finland was also on the side of the nasties in World War II, and they owe their independence to Russia because they were defeated by Russia, and Russia said you can stay independent, an independent sovereign nation, as long as you claim neutrality. And now they're not neutral anymore. Of course, they joined those that hate Russia. So technically speaking, Finland now once again belongs to Russia, according to the agreement that they made in the past. But that's something for you to look up yourself. Yeah. Oh boy. Let me think. I saw something else here about Poland. This was about notes that I said yesterday, and of course, but anyway, what it says here is it's the F-16s, as you know. They want to give their F-16s to Ukraine, and the UK wants to give some Tornadoes. I don't know how many, not very many, 5 or so. I don't know how many F-16s Poland wants to give, but other countries also want to give their, I don't know about give, sell? I'm not privy to their agreements, but in other words, to hand them over to the Ukrainians to get the Russians, of course, and everybody knew this was coming. Remember back in the old days, they're talking about artillery pieces. They're talking about maybe quite a few months ago. And then they gave the HIMARS, which were very effective for quite some time. And now the Russians have the number of the HIMARS, so they're shooting most all of them down. And then it's the tanks. So now they got the tanks, and I think a lot of them have already been destroyed before they even got out of the barn. I think a lot of that ammunition has been, I mean, those weapons have been destroyed, I believe, by Russia. And then it was depleted uranium. And as you know, apparently that was destroyed just a couple of days ago. And then it was the Patriot missiles. And I think Alex Christoforou was mentioning they lasted like 1 day. Well, one of them did. And then there is a rumor, and it's very possibly true, that I think that the Ukrainians got 2 Patriot missile systems, and one of them, I believe, in the last 48 hours, actually shot down some Russian planes, I believe. They're talking about the number of 4 planes. So that's very, very possibly true. But anyway, that Patriot system is probably going to have a short life. They can't use it because then that gives it away where it's at, and it's not going to be there very long. And if it gets used, that is. I'm sure they're going to use it at some point. What's good as a weapon when you don't use it? In a time of battle, that is. You know, a weapon can be a deterrent, like nuclear weapons apparently are used as deterrents, but other weapons, you know, during the time of conflict have to be used. And I'll get into that nuclear weapon bit in a little minute, few minutes here, talk again about F-16, so this all ties in. But the United States says they're not going to give F-16s themselves because of the risk of World War III. But it's apparent that the United States actually does want World War III, but they just don't want to be seen as the instigators of World War III. They want to figure out a way to make Russia, you know how the United States does that? We were attacked. We're just minding our own business, being very nice. And they attacked us out of the blue. It's just like Russia attacked Ukraine. I mean, what's wrong? What's wrong with them? The Ukrainians killing their own people of Russian ethnicity. There's nothing wrong with that. So why did Russia attack? Why did Russia stop? You know, Petro Poroshenko was saying the West Ukrainian children will all be going to school and then on to the university, have a great future. And all the children of the Donbass will spend their lives hiding in the basement from bombings. So that was the whole idea of all that. He said that publicly. I believe it was on radio. And I think there's video footage of that too. So that's for those of you that don't know that. I don't know, maybe I'll get deleted for that, for telling the truth, for for stating facts. You know how it works today. But anyway, the United States has given their order, permission, their approval or assent for other countries to give those F-16s to Ukraine. But in the meantime, the United States, as everybody knows, they've been training pilots. They've been training Ukrainian pilots for over a year in the United States. And they say that they haven't been. And now they act like they're talking about it, but yet they're talking also about an F-16 attack on Crimea, and I'll get to that one. That's what I was going to be getting at. But they say that they're so brilliant, the Ukrainians are the master race, as you know, because of that ideology. Once you adopt that ideology, you become part of the master race. God's chosen people, the indispensable people, like the United States, like Obama said. But anyway, they said that they can learn how to fly in 4 months. It doesn't take a year, but I guess that makes Americans look bad because they need over a year to train on F-16s. So, yeah. But hide a year here, hide a year there. They've already been training for 1 year. Some people are saying that it's not going to be Ukrainians flying those F-16s. But, remember, I think Biden just gave, his bi-weekly or bi-monthly allowance to his boy, old Zelensky there. I think it's, was it 375 million this time? But, I think sometimes it's 350 million, but it's every 2 weeks. It's about every 2 weeks Zelensky gets his allowance from Daddy Biden, Daddy Joe. So I guess this time it was 375 at the G7 meeting in Japan. So I guess, I don't know, it's not enough money. If it was if it broke the billion mark, then Zelensky could feel like he's big in Japan. But it's not that much, In the old days, he was getting $1 billion here and I think $3 billion at one point in time. Wasn't it $3 billion? Some good funds, baby. But every 2 weeks, 350 million. That's only like 700 million every month. But I think Germany, they pledged was it 1.2 or 1.3 billion just a week ago. So, but as Zelensky says, it's not enough. Even though it's far more than what Russia spends on their defense. I don't know. Maybe a lot of that's been put into villas. Zelensky, he likes his villas in all these different countries. And I think even when he was talking with the Arabs, he was talking about, I think he said publicly, talking about property down there. Gosh, incredible. And I mentioned also some time ago that there was a disappearance of Syrskyi and Zaluzhny. And apparently Syrskyi has put his head above water, I guess, recently, and so it's apparently he's still around, Syrskyi. But Zaluzhny, and there's all sorts of rumors. You can say whatever you want about Zaluzhny. Was he removed from power? Was he removed from this world, or is he? There's been rumors that he was injured. He lost a leg and he's in a coma. And the latest rumors is he's already expired. He's died. But you don't know. You don't know. There's a rumor here and a rumor there. Nobody's ever going to know. Until that information comes out at some point in time. Matter of fact, you can't even believe whatever information comes out. So, yes. General Milley said he talked to Zaluzhny. But you know how politicians are. They don't have a very good, the Western politicians don't have a very good track record anyway of telling the truth. Anybody, I guess that's part of being the West, you can lie. Why is it that you might, I don't know, Putin, I don't know. I've heard a couple things that were not accurate from him, but it's not. I don't know. It's not a. He doesn't have a track record of saying things like that. But anyway, another thing. Just today, I think earlier, he might have put it up yesterday. I'm not sure. Maybe it was even late last night. John Mark Dougan, you know, he's actually a little bit more meticulous about his sources. So he has got it that right around Khmelnytsky, where that ammunition depot was destroyed by Russia with, I think, 4 drones, and it's believed that they had the depleted uranium there because the radiation levels in the area and long around there all the way into Poland had spiked right after that. Poland is downplaying and said, oh, you know, there's always a little bit of spike here and a little bit of spike there, but I don't know. I don't know. And the head of security in Russia, FSB, he's saying that there's a cloud heading towards Europe of radiation. I don't know if he said a black cloud, a gray cloud, a white cloud, any cloud, I don't know. He said it's on its way to Europe, but you know, it doesn't take more than a few days depending on what the wind is doing, so, you know, for it to get there, if that is the truth. But obviously there is radiation, and obviously it is not just going to stay local, even though local is probably where the worst part of it is. And you saw from the film footage that Ukraine was using robots to put out the fire from that bombing raid, because it's way too high of radiation for humans to go there. Oh, but they're perfectly safe. You heard that. Great Britain, the United States, even Ukraine and Poland, they're saying it's perfectly safe, these depleted uranium. I mean, all those birth defects and people that died of cancer, that's from some other reason, of course. That's not from the depleted uranium. It's just a coincidence. You know, all of that's happened in Iraq, you know. Again, I don't know. Don't even think about it. If you it's going to make you sick, of course, you know. But anyway, what John Mark Dougan was saying in his film, that there's a huge die-off of fish in adjacent areas to where that explosion took place. And not only fish, beavers, lots and lots of them. And of course, if it's from a river, and as you know, rivers do their traveling of their own. Some of them stretch across many countries. And it would be interesting to find out, you know, how big this river is and where it's going to be going and what lakes it's going to be entering into. And who and what depends on this water supply. Animals, humans, birds, you know, not just fish and beavers, you know. And then what happens with evaporation. And some of these gamma particles are very, very light. They're like a gas. And can you imagine when these things are in the water even, it's not like they sink. You know, a lot of this is going to be taken up again into the atmosphere, and it's going to be spread even far and wide. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on these particles and gamma radiation and all that, but it doesn't sound good. And of course, I think all the environmentalists are all bought off. As you notice, so much of this, what they now call climate change, is all fake. You know, it used to be, I mentioned in a video, it used to be called the greenhouse effect. Then it was global warming and man-made global warming, and you know, and now it's climate change, which is an accurate description. But climate change has been going on since before humans were walking the earth. So, you know, but I don't know. They can't say global warming because a lot of places have gotten much colder. And remember in the old days, old Al Gore, wasn't it Al Gore saying that by the year 2013 there will be no more snow and ice on planet Earth? It will be eradicated because of the warming of the atmosphere. Well, guess what? I don't know. What was that stuff that was laying around here in Belarus in the winter months? You know, some places, I don't know. You don't even need to hear that. This is all just a bunch of ridiculous stuff. But anyway, where are these environmentalists now? Where are the environmentalists when the Nord Stream pipelines are blown up? Strange. It's just like the anti-war movement. You know, when Obama was running for president, there was this anti-war movement, and after he made president, it just disappeared. There is no anti-war movement anymore. Isn't that incredible? Makes you wonder, who is funding that? Anyway, that's just a question I'm throwing out there. But, you know. Anyway, I was going to talk about some other information, as I mentioned, you know, like about these F-16s, and I can bring Jake Sullivan, Jake the Snake, Jake Sullivan, I can bring him into this. I'll tell you what, he came out and he said that it's perfectly fine for Ukraine to attack Crimea because that is part of Ukraine, even though it hasn't been since 2014. And even though they have been attacking the Crimea all along, and they have been attacking other parts of Russia, Belgorod, you ever heard of that? And Rostov, they even attacked Rostov long before the 2014. I remember some attacks on that. And you can even say there's been other attacks too. You talk about a strange virus, you know, that came about in Krasnodar, which is right south of Rostov on Don. On the Danube River? Yes. But what Jake Sullivan is implying here is attacks with F-16s. F-16 attacks on the Crimea, and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly allowed. But guess what? Where do you think these F-16s are going to be taking off from? Some people are talking about Poland, but I doubt that very much. I'll tell you what. Probably Romania. I don't know about Moldova, but they're going to be coming from some other direction. I don't think they have access to the Turkish airports anymore, especially for something like that. I don't think the United States or Ukraine is going to be allowed to do that. But of course, there are other friendly states, maybe Bulgaria. Anyhow, but the leader of Crimea, you know, the Russian leader of the Oblast of Crimea has come out and he said that you go ahead and do that, and he said it's going to be a nuclear war. But let's not jump that far. Let's not go that far. It's not going to be a nuclear war at that time, people. It's going to be, it might be World War III, because what's going to happen is Russia has already said that they're not going to accept that. Any attack like that, if you have airplanes leaving, they said it about Poland, if you have airplanes leaving Poland and bombing Russian troops even, that's going to invoke an attack on Poland. So no matter where these planes are going to be taken off from and attacking Russian troops, or even worse, Crimea, well, guess what's going to happen then? Russia is going to go attack wherever those planes were taken off from, because that's a declaration of war, my friend, very easily. And guess what? That's going to happen. These are probably going to be NATO countries. I don't know if they're going to find some non-NATO country to launch these planes from, but if it happens to be a NATO country, that's going to invoke Article 5. And Article 5, I don't know. I don't know if all these countries have a choice, or is it attack against one is attack against all. All for one and one for all. The three musketeers of NATO. The EU, NATO, Trilateral Commission. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, that's going to be a lot of trouble if they do that. If they have a, I don't think they're going to do it, but old Jake the Snake Sullivan, I think he's just putting feelers out there, and he wants to see what sort of a response he gets from Russia, if any at all. But I tell you what, if Russia doesn't make at least some kind of a verbal response, it makes you wonder what's going to happen. But like I was saying at the beginning of this video, the United States does want a World War III, but they don't want to be the ones appearing to start it. And I can add to that what's often been said by Alex Christoforou and Alexander Makuris is these neocons, they don't have a reverse gear. And here they are going up higher and higher on the escalation escalator. And there is no reverse gear. So I'll tell you what, this F-16, putting F-16s into the mix, I think it was Alex Christopher, and I agree, and I was thinking about this beforehand as well, but what is the next escalation? The next escalation can't be anything more than tactical nukes. I don't know. Anything more than F-16s? Well, maybe F-35s, F-22s. Now that's an escalation. That's an escalation. And it's not nuclear. And I'll tell you what, Russia'd have a lot harder time with those because those are stealthy aircraft. And I don't believe that the F-16 has any kind of a stealth capabilities. There's a newer one that's been made. I don't know if that's stealthy, and I don't think Ukraine is going to be getting that, at least not now. Maybe they're going to throw them in and hope that Russia doesn't notice. You know how that works. But anyways, people, yeah, it makes you wonder where this is all going and how long this is going to happen. So we in Belarus here, a lot of people I noticed they're talking about the fact that it's also going to get to Belarus at some point in time. And who was it saying that, I think it was Colonel Douglas McGregor saying that, I think he said 170,000 Russian troops in Belarus, which I doubt that very, very much. And they're ready and poised to come moving south if Ukraine tries to escalate this even more. I think it's actually going to be used. That's actually used, and I agree a little bit more with Scott Ritter. That's just to watch the flanks in case Poland and the Baltic states decide to get some designs to enter in. And they said they would defend, Russia said they would defend Belarus like it's Russia, so I'm glad for that. And I'm glad that Lukashenko has not joined in. At least not in that way. I think he's been very good. So yes, indeed, people. So, but I'll continue making these videos, I suppose, because it actually lifts a burden off of me too. And I hope that if you are new watching this, that you can push that subscribe button. And if you're not new, you can press the like button. You know, this all helps my ego. So, along with this, I'll be talking more about Belarus and, you know, life here. And I'll be going to different places, like I say, pretty soon. I was hoping this week, but, you know, still renovating the apartment. And I'll show you that when it's a little bit further. Waiting and waiting and waiting on workers, you know, trying to put doors in. There was some mistakes on the door, so it takes 2 to 3 weeks for them to come and get the doors. And it's supposed to be coming today, and you're supposed to come in the morning, but nope, it's going to come in the afternoon. And then that's going to take at least a week, because the wood had to dry, and then they're going to be fixing those. That should take a week, and hopefully then the doors can go in, and then I can, well, have somebody. I did the baseboards myself, but I might have to cut them and install them myself. But the person that brought us, the contractor, is the floor guy. And if I can help him out a little bit more, he did our floor, did really, really good. And if I can help him out a little bit more, you know, I'll let him put in the baseboards. I just painted them and all that, put the gloss and all that sort of stuff on there, just to save some money. But I don't want to cut him out completely. But I also, you know, painting takes a long time. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. Yes. So talk about blah, blah, blah. What about all of these G7 people? Boy, I should be doing something about the G7. I'll just mention before I close here. Ursula von der Leyen. What a crazy. Ursula von der crazy. Boy, oh boy. She's come out, she's saying that China has to, not China, that the European Union has to create a counterweight to the Belt and Road Initiative from China. So they have to, I think I don't know how many billion, of course, it's going to fall short, and you know how trustworthy the West is. And you think that Africa and South America are going to go for that? Do you think they're going to go for, you know, do you think they're going to choose the EU over Russia and China? No, 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 no. And also, it's also been put out that a lot of these leaders of these countries have put out that they're getting pressured, of course, to go against Russia, to apply sanctions and not buy anything, to, you know, boycotts, all sorts of things. And when these leaders ask the United States, well, if we do that, what do we get in return? And the United States says, we won't punish you. What a great deal. Gosh. So a lot of these leaders, they are showing much courage. So you have to consider that. Such as Modi of India, even, it's a more powerful country, but it does take some courage. They do have tremendous soldiers in India, tremendous. But I won't talk about that right now. I'm just talking about Ursula von der Crazy. What a knucklehead! You can't believe these people. But anyhow, subscribe. Just do it. Just do it. Just push that subscribe button, you know. And I'll see you on the next one. But before I go, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one again. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.